Nearly 100 blocks separate St. Ignatius and St. Edward High Schools. Two powers inside the classroom and on the gridiron. It's the 66th rendition of the Battle of the Saints from First Federal Lakewood Stadium in Lakewood, Ohio. And it's the Friday night game of the week on Rock Sports, presented by Sheely's Furniture. Hi everybody and welcome inside the booth alongside Anthony Lima, former NFL punter Zoltan Mesko. I'm Tyler Danberg. Well, Zoltan, a rivalry game is just a bit different. Thank you, Anthony. Ignatius looking to counter that big touchdown by Zach Hackelman, tying a single-season record for 10. The quarterback, Dane Donovan, is intercepted! Pick six, St. Ed's. It's Braden Thomas, the Michigan State commit. Brandon White continues to carry the weight. Ivanchik to throw. He's looking for Hackelman. He's got it! Hello, record books! A new single-season St. Ed's receiving touchdown record, the 11th touchdown grab of the year, and it's 23-14 Eagles. It is worth noting that Ignatius will start off with the ball. Could be a difference between a one-score and a two-score game. Brandon White cuts it back. Brandon White down the sidelines. Brandon White stumbles, tiptoe, stretches out for the pylon. Touchdown! To measure how successful Tom Lombardo has been in 11 seasons at St. Ed's, well, first off, he's got the three-peat of state titles. He's got 6 in his career. But to Ohio teams, that Massillon game was just his 13th regular season loss in 11 years. Kickoff from Hummer is going to be taken out by Brodon Moore. He's got 2 kick return touchdowns this year, but he's not going to have one here, as he is planted by Captain Quinn Kennedy, a vocal presence for this Ignatius defense.
It's all about who's making the adjustments. Wildcats did a good job in coverage there.
There's Tom Lombardo. Helped Lake Catholic to a state title in 2001, 5 years as an assistant at Ed's. Went from Lake Catholic to Highland, then here in Lakewood. It's been quite the career for him. He's got a lot of alumni, too, on his staff, which is something he takes a lot of pride in. Brandon White, touchdown on the last drive. He's the featured back. It's a handoff for White. Follows his right guard. A stiff arm for White and a first down. He makes it look easy.
Talk about a stiff arm there. Great job by the offensive line. It's almost like they gave him an instant 3 or 4 yards pushing the defensive lineman back. Now, Ignatius has a young defensive line here, so but the linebackers definitely make up for it. So they're great blocks, climbing to the linebackers, and as you mentioned, that stiff arm was nice.
That right guard is Mason Wilhelm, son of Matt Wilhelm and a UNC commit, helping lead that Eagles offensive line. And we are told that he might be able to even make an impact on the inside of the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it looks like shorter yardage, they may bring him in.
Buchanan is one of the wingbacks. They give it to White again. A little head fake. Brandon White steps out of a tackle, reverses fields, and he's up to midfield for a 7-yard pickup. 2nd and 3.
Great job by Brandon White there, mid-run. He's gonna get the ball here, bounce it outside, and then watch this little hesitation. Just buys him the broken tackle there. Settles in and drives his feet forward for another 2 yards.
St. Ed's ran for 232 yards last week against Bishop McNamara. Bishop McNamara ran for 32. A combination of Eagles rush offense and rush defense.
Of course, everything was working that game, even the pass game. Hackelman had 3 touchdowns.
He's already got 1 tonight. Design run for Ivanchik. And he pinwheels for the first down and more inside the Ignatius 40-yard line. And that is the end of the first quarter. We're tied up at 14 in the Battle of the Saints from Lakewood, Ohio. Welcome back from First Federal Lakewood Stadium. Tie game at 14 after 1 alongside Zoltan Meshko and Anthony Lima. I'm Tyler Danberg. There's Ryan Franzinger talking to his troops, and it was a good quarter. Partner for Franzinger's Wildcats.
Yeah, we'll call that quarter a W for Ignatius. All squared up at 14, and what a great job by Ignatius to move the ball. They had 96 yards on 17 carries there.
And it could have been a different story because the first play from scrimmage for Ignatius was a pick six, but then a personal foul and roughing the passer brought it back in Ignatius's direction, and they just trudged down the field 60-plus yards. It'll be a 1st and 10 for this St. Ed's offense. A perfect 2 for 2 on just about 4 minutes of possession time in that first quarter. Zach Hackelman, a 30-yard touchdown catch and a run of 15 yards for a score for Brandon White, who's got the carry, and he slaloms through the second level for 9 yards.
I mean, that was all Brandon White. It almost felt like a Halloween corn maze, that he was bouncing left, right, back, forward, getting a nice 9 yards. And again, Tyler, this is my favorite down.
Second and short.
Just go deep.
Free play city. We'll see what they dial up here.
We call that arbitrage.
Do they now? Hackelman, top of your screen, big 6'1" lengthy receiver. 10 touchdowns this year, tied for an Ed school record. Roll out to the right, and a dump off for White as he tiptoes out of bounds for the first down. That is now his 11th catch this year.
Really great misdirection play here. Everyone's rolling left, they're thinking left. Even Ivanchik moving left, and then Brandon White slips out right for the nice little quick pass.
Wildcats head coach Ryan Franzinger said, got to be mindful of the legs of Johnny Ivanchik. Go back to early September, week 3 against Wayne. Threw for 236 yards. He's only thrown 5 or less incompletions in 1 start this year. He's made now 7. It's a handoff for White. Follows his fellow running back Tyrese Buchanan, and he is stopped.
Great blocking there. I believe was the tight end. Sustained effort on the linebacker.
That was Dylan Baker who made the stop. Now, St. Ignatius has been a bit nicked up in the middle at linebacker. James Conrad has been playing through, but he got banged up against the Menor Cardinals early on. He's got a couple of Division I offers, actually visited Notre Dame last weekend. He's a great talent, but Dylan Baker has been that next man up for Pete Pappas' defense.
Yeah, it's also anchored by Nick Rivera. He's committed to Air Force, so a lot of talent.
Buchanan spun down near the sticks. He'll be a yard short. That's a 5-yard pickup.
Buchanan with an amazing run. Not a lot of air there between the B gap or wherever he was running, but made the most of it.
He had to assume a lot of responsibility last year after Brandon White went down. Actually had a 161-yard game in his first game after White's injury against Cincinnati Elder. St. Ed's the number 3 team in the Division I Ohio AP poll. And you can hear this noise starting to really pump in at First Federal. White tries the left side, and he is stacked up, but not before he gets the first down. Powerful run for White.
I wonder if they're going to give it to him here. Almost looked like he got stopped right before the marker. Of course, this would be 4th down territory, and it looks like they're going to go for it. And they're going to measure it. You don't see this often. Now, I will say there's a little story behind here. We have a new kicker for the Eagles who actually chose to not play this year, but then, of course, Coach Lombardo convinced him to come back. Maybe, hey, you might have some shiny hardware at the end of November here, December. Not bad enticement.
That can sway your interest for sure. It's a first down, they say, White gets it. And the line of scrimmage is the 2. Eagles haven't attempted a field goal this year. Will Lavelle is 20 for 20 in point after tries. Kellen Moyer, last year's kicker, was 4 of 8. White still the running back. 1st and 10, tied up at 14. It's a fade to the back of the end zone, and Ivanchik overshot Hackelman looking for his second TD tonight.
Yeah, Ivanchik just throws that where only Hackelman can get it. Of course, a little bit too long. Aiming for the corner there.
Tom Lombardo said he catches everything. He's got enough speed, enough wrinkles. I thought that was interesting when he said enough wrinkles to pose to a defense.
I think it's enough ability to do most things versus a one dynamic straight route runner. There's a Wildcat direct snap there.
Brandon White moves backwards, and he'll gain a few. In on this stop was Michael Wirtz, the big defensive end for Ignatius.
Now I know it's 3rd and 5, but this almost feels like 3rd and 7. The direct snap to Brandon White gains 5 on that, but it's going to feel like 3rd and 7 because how do you aim for the final 2 yards there? You're almost aiming for the end zone here.
Buchanan to the right, White to the left of Johnny Ivanchik, the quarterback. Wildcats bring an extra man on the line. Ivanchik floats it, and it is incomplete.
Wow.
They were looking for Ryan Makovsky, and it was knocked out of his hands.
Amazing job, because I thought that was caught. It almost like, back in my day, we used to call that a Randy Moss play, getting mossed. Amazing job of leaping, but then, is that Billy Cole?
That's 5'9" Billy Cole against 6'1" Ryan Makovsky.
Right place, right time.
He's made some big plays early on. That, the kick return to set up good field positioning to the Eagles' 40.
And we have a field goal attempt.
This will be the first of the year for St. Anne's. It's Will Lavelle from inside the right hash. A 23-yarder. Lavelle knocks it through. St. Ed's regains the lead, 17-14. Ignatius with the ball coming up next on Rock Sports. Welcome back to Rock Sports. If you want offense, you got it. St. Ed's scored 17 of the last 20 points to close off that first half, but St. Ignatius has the ball coming back. It's been a good one here so far from First Federal Lakewood Stadium. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Zoltan Mesko, I'm Tyler Danberg. Well, Zoltan, a lot of yards, a lot of points, but what was the difference in that first half? The Friday night game of the week on Rock Sports is presented by Sheely's Furniture. At Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, now through October 25th, take an additional 10% off Flex Deal plus 18-month special financing. Shop in stock or custom order your perfect pieces now to have just in time for the holidays. Sheely's, the best things in life happen at home. Back with you from First Federal Lakewood Stadium. The final score, St. Ed's 45, St. Ignatius 31, along with Zoltan Mesko and Anthony Lima. Tyler Danberg back with you on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. And Zoltan, let's go back and take a look at our key play of the game, presented by Key Bank. For every financial need, we'll meet you in the moment. Key Bank opens doors, and it was Brandon White who played a big factor in this game.
Brandon White here, just showing a next-level football move. Awareness to juke him out and then switch his hand. Just take a look what happens right here as he gets attempted to be pushed out. He stiff arms his way to the end zone, stumbles in 68 yards of his 233 yards for the night.
Another 200-yard game for Brandon White. His first is the 2023 state title game for St. Edward. which wins its 9th straight win over its rivals, St. Ignatius. Eagles go to 6-1, Wildcats fall to 1-6. For Zoltan Mesko, Anthony Lima, and our entire tremendous Rock Entertainment Sports Network crew, Tyler Danberg bidding you good night from Lakewood, Ohio.